I see no interest across Africa in paying reparations for selling their brother and sister Africans into slavery or for working them to the bone to the present day. There is slavery across Africa today. In fact, there are more slaves in the world today than there were at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. It's sick, and most of us are tired of it.
I am so sorry that Douglas is bored by the pain that has come from
That's not what he said.
Through slavery.
He didn't say.
I'm
he
so
didn't say.
tired.
But what you're doing there, what you're doing, yeah. But hang on, Paula.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are meeting me for the first time, my name is Clevy and it is so nice to meet you. You guys, we are back with another video and this is titled, Where Do We Stop? Press Morgan on slavery reparations and apology for history. Where does he end? And of course, from the thumbnail, I can see Douglas Murray, and it's about to get interesting. So let's dive right into it.
Well, today is, of course, the 4th of July. It's a day that America celebrates because they booted we British out, our monarchy out, our mad King George dropped the ball. Otherwise, I would possibly be King Piers right now of the United States of America. So we don't obviously celebrate it with quite such enthusiasm over this side of the pond. But amid the hot dogs and fireworks, even this day of patriotic celebration in the States has become divisive. There's a growing trend for black Americans to celebrate Juneteenth as an alternative to July 4th. Veteran Congresswoman Maxine Waters in 2021 claimed the Declaration of Independence wasn't for equality and it was only for white men. Comments were echoed by her fellow Democrat Cori Bush, who said black people still aren't free. So is there something in all this? Should these national institutions and occasions be opportunities for reflection and apology rather than celebration? Well, joining me now is best-selling author of The War on the West and conservative commentator Douglas Murray, country music legend Lee Greenwood, and my Talk TV contributor Paula Rowan-Adrian, and Talk TV presenter Richard Tice. All right, well, a stellar panel. Douglas, let me start with you. You wrote a great piece this week for The Telegraph about this weird trend. I agree with you. I think it's weird, where we're being compelled to just apologise constantly for everything that happened in the past. Why are we doing this?
That's right. It's a very strange act of masochism, really, and an act of masochism carried out by people who don't seem to know anything. I mean, people talk about the British monarchy having to apologise for slavery. It was King George III who signed the Anti-Slavery Act into law in 1807. Prince Albert gave one of the most extraordinary anti-slavery addresses when the British were still policing the anti-slave trade on the high seas in 1840 to the Anti-Slavery League in London. All of this was addressed 200 years ago. And today, unfortunately, there's a kind of new type of malcontent, and usually also a huckster to boot, who just decides that none of this happened. Usually it's because they don't know it happened. And as a result, they look at our history and everything in our country, right up to just, innocent pastimes like cricket, and they decide to name everything as guilty. And, you could do this to everyone and to everything, but most civilizations and cultures don't behave like this because most of them aren't just masochistic and so self-hating.
All right, Paula, your response to that?
I actually agree with Douglas about the fact that we don't know enough. He's absolutely right. We don't know enough, and it's important that we do. But part of the knowledge is also understanding the hurt and pain that were caused, not just about the good things. It's not just about the cherry picking. And wrongs are not about being masochistic. Saying sorry is not a bad thing. Saying sorry is actually a very empowering thing to do.
Why does it matter that a bunch of royals now get forced into issuing grovelling apology? Who cares? How does it change anything? It doesn't do anything, in my estimation, to impact on current slavery, where it exists around the world. It doesn't really make any difference to institutional racism, as we've seen in certain parts of society. I don't know what difference it makes. It might make people feel a bit better to see a royal grovelling, but so what?
See, I don't agree with you, surprise, surprise. I do think it makes a difference. I do think it makes a difference that people in power are heard to acknowledge pain and hurt. I do think it's important that people in power have taken the time.
But whose pain and hurt are you talking about? It's not people living today. These are going back hundreds of years in some cases, these crimes of slavery and so on. We all agree it was outrageous. It's been debated, you know, really year after year after year. We all know this. I don't think that people have a lack of knowledge. And I'm not quite sure where the apology tour ends. What's the end game here?
So the end game is about the ability to understand the true history, not just the part of history that we have been taught. And that is the difficulty. So you're talking about who's the apology for. Well, the apology is for me. The apology is for those who have suffered. The apology is for those who continue to struggle through colonialism and through slavery. And I do think that it's important that royalty are coming forward and saying, we apologise for the part that we...
All right, so is that it? Is that enough? When is enough enough? If we all say sorry today... Hang on.
The British government, when is enough enough? To repay, to compensate slavery.
So if we all say sorry today...
enough?
Well, that's my question to you, and you're not answering it.
My point is,
if we all say sorry today, it was terrible, which we all know.
Yeah.
Can we then say, right, that's done, we're going to look forwards, we're going to be positive, we're going to celebrate our achievements, learn from our failures, and we're done with apologising?
Absolutely. And so how are we going to learn from our failures if we do not understand what we did wrong?
You learn from your failures because that's what we're doing at the moment. The sort of report you had from the...
How do you learn from your failures if you don't know what you did wrong? If you refuse to accept that you did wrong?
Because the cricket board, the ECB, they've just produced a report. They've reported. Some of it was good. Some of it you can criticise or question. The point is, we've learned from that. We're moving on. We're celebrating. We're being positive. Otherwise,
how have we learned?
I tell you what it does. It depresses everybody. It leads to a perception of decline.
I agree with that. I think what it does. I want to bring in Lee Greenwood here, who's a big country star in America, and he wrote God Bless the USA, one of the great anthems celebrating the United States. It's July 4th. Obviously, as I said at the start here, Lee, we don't celebrate it with quite such enthusiasm this side of the pond. We sort of take a view that Mad King George dropped the ball a bit, but I'm happy for my American friends that you have this day to celebrate. You wrote this great anthem, really, for your country. Can we be proud of our country anymore, or is this kind of this desire to feel this terrible regret about everything and apology for everything? Does that mar the pride? How do you feel?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say the people that I run with and talk to, and believe me, I tour across America all the time. We do 140, 50 days a year, every doghouse, outhouse, and roundhouse. And I talk to the American public. They listen to what I say, listen to what I sing. I happen to be a country music performer, but I was born in California, spent 20 years in Nevada. I live in the South now. And I wrote this song because it was for unity. It's a unity and for military sacrifice. And yeah, America started as an interesting expedition and then an experiment, and we fought it out. We fought each other in the Civil War and said, okay, we're going to bury the hatchet here. The trouble is, as we move forward, a lot of people try to change history. I'm okay with history. I'm okay with apologizing for what happened back then. But I agree with you, that was back then. Let's move forward. Let's move on past that, and let's not change history and try to change what happened.
Yeah, I completely agree. Douglas, the problem is we've forgotten how to be genuinely proud of our great countries, both America and the United Kingdom, two of the greatest countries in the world. It's almost like every day now, somebody somewhere, normally on the left, the woke left, is queuing up to find a reason to hate the countries and their histories.
Well, it's a kind of grievance competition. Your guest earlier just tried to engage in it. I don't know what hurt she believes she's had from slavery. All of this was addressed 2 centuries ago. Everything has consequences. All history has consequences and ramifications. But, you know, if we were to play this fairly, we would at least look at all of the countries around the world that engaged in the slave trade who are simply not interested in any form of reparations. The Ottoman Empire, all the Arab countries who not just traded far more slaves than across the Atlantic, but castrated all the men so that there wouldn't be any more African slaves after them. They worked them to the bone. I see no interest across Africa in paying reparations for selling their brother and sister Africans into slavery or for working them to the bone to the present day. There is slavery across Africa today. In fact, there are more slaves in the world today than there were at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. So some of us are simply a bit bored of hearing people ripping at closed wounds and then crying about their hurt or their presumed hurt. Because everybody could do this. 1 million Europeans were stolen by North Africans over the course of decades of the North African Barbary pirate slave trade. Where would you end if you did that? The answer is you couldn't end, because nobody is alive who has actually suffered the hurt, and nobody is alive who did the wrong. And I'd make one other point, if I may. It's always the countries that people want to come to who are put through this struggle session. Britain, like America and France, are the most desired destinations for migrants worldwide and have been for centuries. Why is that? It's not because we're racist, it's because we're better. It's because we're good. It's because when we see racism, we actually call it out and recognize it as a sin. Try finding that across Africa. Try finding that across the Middle East or in China. Nobody would hear. So what we have is a situation where the more virtuous countries are presented as the worst countries. It's sick, and most of us are tired of it.
Thank you, Douglas.
I am so sorry that Douglas is bored.
My hand has been near the pause button, but I was just waiting, like, the struggle, because I also want you guys. We've talked about slavery on this channel. We've talked about it in previous videos, and we are still going to talk about it again. When you say apology, who is apologizing to who? Because there is enough of, if you know history, you will know that there is enough apology to go around. Everybody will apologize to everybody. And not just a particular group of people apologizing to a particular, like, you see, apology, it will start from us. Let me explain something. For those who have not found that video, let me take it down. Let me take it down for a little bit in the small time I have. Note, the white people, you know what we were all brought up to believe. We're all slaves. We're all slaves, to the white people and this and that and that and that and that. Listen, let me tell you something. Just try to imagine this scenario. They did not just come in. Shoot, on a life, and take the one they want to take, and that is slavery. No. Contrary to what a lot of people believe, no, that was not the case. The case was, it was a negotiation. Negotiation not between white and white, but between white and black. Your fellow brothers sold you out. I don't know, God. I don't know. So when you're saying apologizing, like, start from ourselves. Start from there. Okay, the white people, they came with gin, mirror, as little as mirror. I mean mirror, a reflection of themselves. Mirror, gin, The Shining, whatever it was, and your fellow brothers saw it and they liked it and they wanted it, and they wanted it, they did not have it. Okay, fine. This and this will follow you. In exchange, you will give me these things. So if I'm just bringing this to the lamest form, so I'm saying that if you were saying apology from this set of people, it's not starting from there. It's the betrayal first. We will have to apologize to ourselves first before even say, and for how long will this apology happen? Do you understand? Like, it's a lot. That's why just go read about it, go learn about it. Because if you don't know, you will still be of the same. You guys.
By the pain that has come
That's not what he said.
Through slavery.
He didn't say.
I'm
he
so
didn't say.
tired.
But what you're doing there, yeah, but hang on, Paula. Paula, you're being very disingenuous. That's not what he said.
I am.
And viewers aren't stupid. They know exactly what he said. He's not saying he's bored by the pain. He's saying, and I think it's a perfectly valid point, the pain that people who are alive today are claiming they're suffering for what happened 200 or 300 years is not a real pain. They're not the ones who suffered what was going on 200 or 300 years ago.
So, in terms of justice for all, I mean, I think we'd all agree that there should be justice.
Well, I'm not suffering from when the Normans invaded this country.
Agree.
I'm not suffering from what my ancestors went through.
I noticed that I'm not being allowed to respond.
Or from the Romans. In other words, where do you take this? I mean, should I now be feeling pain from what the Romans did to this country?
In terms of slavery, I can take it to 2015. when the slave owners were compensated by the government. So I can take it to that extent.
Where does your personal pain come?
And I can say to you that I don't think that apologising is a bad thing. I think that apologising for a wrong is a good thing. I think that the Dutch royal family have done a fantastic thing in acknowledging what has gone wrong.
Okay, I hear you, but
society.
I honestly think it'll make no difference at all.
Okay, you guys. Now we get to hear, our side. Now, like she said, there is nothing wrong with apologizing. Now, you're apologizing today for a wrong that happened years and years ago. So, some of them are of the opinion that it wouldn't make any difference, right? Some of them are of the opinion that there's honestly no difference. It won't make a difference. Some of the opinion of, okay, fine, it's good to apologize, but how long? For how long are we going to keep apologizing? Are we not going to apologize again and okay, that's it, enough, it's enough. Let's move forward. Let's see how to better ourselves and our country. Shouldn't that be the way forward? Or is it every 2 years we have to come out again every time to apologize? Do you understand? So no one is saying, like they said here, no one is saying that apology is wrong. No one is saying apologizing for history or the past is wrong. But they're for how long? For how long are you gonna keep apologizing again for things that our ancestors did? Haven't we gotten to a stage where we are now to look forward? What do you guys think? What's your own opinion? And I'll see you in the comment section.